Have you ever wondered why your energy feels like a total roller coaster that you just can't control? One day you're completely focused, and the next you're just drained. Well, today, we are breaking down an ancient framework that gives us a surprisingly modern map for mastering our daily energy and finally finding that flow.
Really think about it. You wake up, you have your coffee, you look at your to-do list, but from that moment on, the rest of the day just feels like a lottery. Are you going to be productive and sharp, or is it going to be a total struggle just to get through your most basic tasks? You know those days when you're just in the zone, right? Ideas are flowing and you feel this calm sense of accomplishment. But then there are the other days, the ones that are just a blur of frantic activity that leaves you totally exhausted but feeling like you got nothing done. And of course, there are those days where you just feel stuck, staring at a screen, completely taken over by procrastination and burnout. Look, this struggle with our inner state, it's completely universal. But it turns out there's an ancient system that gives us a really powerful lens for understanding it all, a way to kind of diagnose your own energy in real time.
Now, this map actually comes from an ancient text, the Bhagavad Gita. And just so we're clear, this isn't some quick-fix productivity hack. It's a really deep model for self-awareness that explains how the world all around us is constantly influencing our state of being, our thoughts, and even our actions.
Okay, so the core concept here is what the text calls the three modes, or gunas. The best way to think of them is like the three primary colors of our consciousness. Every single state of mind, every mood, every energy level we experience is really just a combination of these three fundamental forces.
So, the gunas are basically the qualities of nature that we're interacting with all the time. They're like these invisible threads that are influencing everything we do and feel. And understanding them, that's the first step to gaining some real control over our inner environment. So first up is sattva, what we're calling the balanced state. This is the mode of goodness, clarity, and harmony. It's that feeling of being effortlessly focused, you're peaceful, you feel wise. When sattva is the dominant force, you feel clear-headed, you feel content, you are completely in the zone.
Next, we have rajas, or the frantic state. This is the mode of passion, of action, of ambition. It's the engine that drives us to create and achieve things. But because it's born from this intense desire for results, it can easily lead to frantic activity, to stress, and this constant craving for more. Honestly, this is the energy of burnout.
And finally, we have tamas, the lethargic state. This is the mode of darkness, of inertia, of confusion. It shows up as procrastination, laziness, a total lack of motivation, and that classic mental fog. It's that heavy, stuck feeling where you know you should be doing something, but you just can't.
Now, seeing these modes side by side is where it gets really interesting because it clarifies just how differently each one shapes our experience.
Okay, let's break this down a bit. The balanced state, sattva, it binds you through happiness and knowledge. Basically, it feels so good that you want to stay there. The frantic state, rajas, binds you through attachment to your work and your goals, creating this cycle of endless striving that just leads to distress. And the lethargic state, tamas, well, it binds you through simple inaction and sleep, which just results in delusion. You can see how each one pulls you down a completely different path.
Now, here's the crucial point. You're never just in one of these modes. They are in a constant tug of war inside you. One moment, that balanced state, sattva, is dominant, and you feel totally clear. The next, a stressful email hits your inbox, and boom, you're thrown into the frantic state, rajas. And after a long day, exhaustion brings on the lethargic state, tamas, and you're just done. One is always competing to be the dominant force.
Okay, so how can you actually start to spot these modes in your own daily life? The text gives us some really clear symptoms for each one, which allows us to become a kind of detective of our own inner state.
So when the balanced state, sattva, is dominant, the text says all the gates of the body are illuminated by knowledge. Now, what does that mean in modern terms? It means your senses are clear. You see and hear things as they really are without distortion. You feel a sense of inner purity and just this unmistakable feeling of well-being.
The signs of the frantic state, rajas, are pretty hard to miss. It's that feeling of intense craving, of being super attached to outcomes. You're driven by this uncontrollable desire and just engaged in constant effort. A key sign is just never being satisfied. You're always pushing for the next thing. And in the lethargic state, tamas, the key symptom is darkness or lack of mental illumination. This leads directly to inactivity, inertia, and illusion. You might feel confused, purposeless, and just completely stuck in a loop of procrastination. So this brings us to the big question, right? If these forces are constantly pulling us in all these different directions, are we just passengers along for the ride, or can we actually learn how to steer?
The good news is you absolutely can. The text explains that with awareness, you can learn to intentionally cultivate your inner environment and actually encourage a specific state to become dominant.
Now this right here is a profound shift in perspective. Real understanding comes when you can observe these modes as forces acting on you rather than seeing them as your identity. You aren't your laziness, you're just experiencing the influence of tamas. You aren't your anxiety, you are experiencing rajas. See the difference?
So here is the practical path. First, just observe. Without any judgment, simply ask yourself, okay, what mode is dominant for me right now? Second, understand the triggers. Does scrolling on your phone for an hour leave you in a lethargic fog? Does a high-pressure deadline send you spiraling into a frantic state? Does a walk in nature or a quiet conversation bring you back to a balanced state? And third, practice. By intentionally cultivating sattva, that balanced state, you can actively overcome the influence of the other two.
And this is the ultimate goal. By learning to transcend these modes, to see them, to understand them, and not be controlled by them, you can become free from the distress they cause. The aim isn't to eliminate these forces, but to rise above their influence and find a little peace in the present moment.
And to be super clear, this isn't about demonizing the frantic or lethargic states. We need the passion of rajas to get things done, and we need the rest of tamas to recover. The goal here is wisdom. It's about achieving a balanced awareness so you can navigate all three states effectively and choose the right energy for the right situation.
So what's the key takeaway from all this? Well, while the world is constantly going to be triggering these different states in you, this ancient framework gives you the power of awareness. By understanding this map of your own inner world, you gain agency. You can't always control your circumstances, but you can be strategic about the energy you're cultivating.